Hi, welcome to my presentation, Assignment 5 Development Plan for Information Retrieval using a Pecha Kucha approach. So I'll be presenting to you what I've made so far. Let's continue. So information retrieval is, of course, it cuts across different areas. For example, generating the information in the first place. If you're a researcher, you invest in some kind of research, you gather some information, then you publish it, then you kind of store it. After storing it, then you have to actually even retrieve it again nowadays. You even have to pay to access it. So, and storing information in the past, if you look at it from a historical point of view, there have been different forms in books, of course, some even on walls, on kind of different material, just to make sure information is stored somehow, and of course, it's available for retrieval at some point. And nowadays we have the TV, the radios, the books, and the print media. And of course, nowadays we also have the internet, which is a very interesting aspect of information retrieval system, although it has its own drawback, of course. And then McCain and Sugimoto in 2010, they actually investigate the area, the field of information system itself. And if you look at on the on this, each node represent the descriptor represent like how much work has been done in this area. If you look at information retrieval system around 1980 to 1984, a lot of research and academic work was done in this area. That's why we have these bigger nodes here. So let's follow now in the context of research. For example, UVA Library Guide recommend that as a researcher, as a student, even as a teacher, it's very important that we define the subject and of course the information need, why we actually need the information in the first place. And after doing this, then we can choose some search terms depending like on our field, some specific terms that we can put into the database. After we've concluded that, we can now choose the information source. Which database are we going to use? Of course, I'm going to show more of this example in my presentation, and then some search techniques just to have like either more specific information, which you can of course accomplish by limiting or broadening your search depending on the result and what you really need. And after that, the last stage is to evaluate the search result, and of course you have to also like evaluate the process which you use to get the result. And if it doesn't meet your requirement, then you can of course do some iteration just to be sure that you get some accurate and correct information that can be used in the research work. And this is the all stages from stage 1 to stage 6 for the entire process. Now, let's consider information retrieval in the context of, like, for example, for myself, as in the context of PhD research. Ideally, I have some PhD research work or some thesis work I want to talk about. Then I have some idea popping in my head. Okay, something like that. Come up with some certain keywords, so something like this. And of course, the next step is that, okay, I want to decide on some databases to use, as I've explained earlier. FINA is one of the very good examples. And of course, also the tutorial offered by the University of Basel. After deciding on the databases, then of course I go inside, I put some keyword, for example, 3D printing as an example. And I can of course put some filter just to to make my search to be more specific. For example, I want a full text, and it also has to be peer reviewed, and it has to be e-article. All these are some of the requirement that I've actually like specified in this case. And of course I can even, for example, be more specific, define some sources or the year, the range of year, or the kind of material that I want, just to make sure that I get something that is relevant to my need, to my research need. And of course, this is an example of the search technique I can use. I can like maybe use, for example, the hand operator, the or on the or the not. In this example, if we put like, for example, in Google Scholar, we put politics and media, that means that the result is going to come back with something that involves everything that involves both politics and media together. So in this sense, it's only like this has to be present in the two. So it's common to two. However, if I use the or, I can broaden my search result by using or. So there will be some article that they mention law enforcement, and in some other article entirely they mention the police. Then it's going to give me all this together. That's why we printed all this entirely. However, in the end, we don't really like, we want to be in the same, for example, the same article. So it has to be an article that is talking about politics, and let's say maybe in the context of the media, how it affects politics, something like this. However, the not actually is like we are filtering some other things out. If I say civil war and not in America, that means that it's going to give me a result of civil war that does not concern America. This is like some exclusion search technique. And then after that, you get some results, and of course, you have to evaluate it. And after evaluating it, okay, this is okay, or you have to like reiterate just to make sure that you get some useful result for your research. And of course, assuming in the future I have to teach some, of course, some master student, it's very important to like guide them, of course, to be able to conduct a research that is reliable. Of course, they're expected also to be able to do some independent research by themselves. But still, as a teacher, it's very important to guide them, for example, in all these using the reliable sources provided by the university, and most importantly, to be aware of not like plagiarizing some of their works, and of course, getting the information from the writers, because information retrieval is an important digital literacy skill that all student researchers and teachers must have. And thank you for listening. Bye.